I run about 7 companies. I've been running successful businesses over the last 2 decades in several industries. I've been able to put together a framework that helps to grow businesses faster in a leaner way. I actually was handpicked by Kyo Toyota and sent to Japan early in my career. And that's where I was only one of 7 that was sent to Japan. And
wow.
I learned from first generation lean experts, 90% of businesses never make $1 million. And I've been
90% of businesses
90%
never make $1 million in a year, right?
in a year. Never make $1 million in a year.
Yeah.
And little to know, my life changed. I got the highest level of training of operational excellence that you could think of.
All right, guys, welcome to Success on Repeat. Welcome back to another episode of Success on Repeat. Thank you so much for tuning in and being with us today. We are here at the JW Marriott in beautiful Tampa, Florida, down by the water, having a great time, masterminding and doing things. And I am with a very special guest. You're going to want to pay attention to what this man has to say because he's been helping people grow and start businesses for a good minute now.
Yes, sir.
And so I'd like to welcome Michael Parker. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you, Ryan.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, I'm excited to have you. We've all been obviously masterminding and learning things. And so we got a lot of good things top of mind. I'll tell you what, when we do episodes like this, I find that people are more creative and they have, good things to say. And so,
sure.
But the first thing I want to do is I want to just establish who's Michael E. Parker, right? Like tell me where you at today. I know you weren't always there, right? But tell me where you're at today and what you're doing. And I want to hear the dream that's possible, right? Where are you at today?
Well, where I'm at today is I run about 7 companies. I've been running successful businesses over the last 2 decades in several industries. And I've been able to put together a framework that helps to grow businesses faster in a leaner way. I actually was handpicked by Kyo Toyota and sent to Japan early in my career. And that's where I was only one of 7 that was sent to Japan. And
wow.
I learned from first generation lean experts how to create operational excellence in almost anything that you do in business. And so I've been able to apply that. And so now, I've been able to create businesses, 90% of businesses never make $1 million. And I've been
90% of businesses
90%
never make $1 million in a year, right?
In a year. Never make $1 million in a year. And so that's something that I've done many times.
Sure.
And so that framework is really what I try to do to help. Now I have a lot of other companies that I run, and I'm only able to do that because I built an enterprise. So I built an enterprise with other executives and other leaders that allows me to run 7 companies at the same time, right?
Sure.
But the principles it takes to do that are the same principles that makes one business do well. And so this is some of the things that I do and focus on, helping entrepreneurs who solve problems become CEOs who use systems to run and scale businesses.
Okay. And so now you have just a whole swath of clients. Can you give me an idea of this? You have 7 companies. Can you give me a big idea of where's the revenue, where's the number of clients? Like, I'm trying to give the folks like what's possible,
Yeah, well, I've been building multi-million-dollar companies for some time. And when you see your businesses now, passing that threshold of $1 million and you go into the industry, like the beauty industry, or you go into the consulting space, or you go into the real estate space, or you go into the loan space, or you transition over into the health space, and you transition those businesses to pass that threshold of $1 million. And I like to use $1 million because $1 million really get you to a point of a very stable, successful company. Right. Not that you don't want to go further than that.
Sure.
We've got businesses that go further than that.
Yeah, I can tell you from my personal experience, that's a starting point for now you're stabilized. Now you can really, start doing something.
Exactly. And that's why I try to focus on that so much. And at a minimum, that's what I built my strategies around for my businesses, to at least get there and then to grow from there. And that is really what I've been doing for the last 2 decades.
Wow. Okay. Man, that's really cool. So obviously you didn't start with 7 million or multi-million-dollar businesses.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So nobody starts there. Where do you come from? How did you start? And then is there a story? Is there a simple story of how you bridge the gap from there to here?
Absolutely. So You know, there's so many elements to being successful as a business leader, especially as a CEO. Some of it's mental, some of it's spiritual, and some of it is business, right? Yep. And so my life really took a hard turn early in my life when my mom married another man, and it was a lot of domestic violence. And so through that domestic violence, I ended up going to 6 different elementary schools, and I was in several situations that were very difficult. I'll never forget this one day, Ryan, where we had to run out of the house because it was a life and death situation. We jump in the car, we drive to this shelter for battered women. I look around the room, there's other kids in there, and there's other women in there. And I'm looking around and thinking, would I ever have a chance to be successful? Like, what would be my life? You know, there was no consistency, no continuity. I didn't even have anything in my mind that knew what was possible. So I had some godparents that stepped in and showed me a better way. They showed me what was possible in terms of just peace. You know, just no fighting, no violence, this and that.
This is not the norm.
This is exactly that. This wasn't the norm, and I call it the CEO moment. Because once you have a crossroads, once you see that there's a left and a right, a up and a down, you have the power to choose. And this is why I named my company You Are a CEO, because in essence, we're the CEOs of our life first, because we're a soul, not a body. The soul is the decision maker.
That's right.
The body has the brain full of thoughts, sends you all kinds of thoughts that lead to emotions that drives what you do. But the decision maker, why is it that we can say I'm mad, but I choose to smile anyway? Why is it that I can say I'm disappointed, but I'm not going to let it get me down? Well, what is it allowing you to do that? It's because you're a soul. So this epiphany would follow me in the rest of my life to figure out that I could choose to be different. So from there, just fast forwarding, I went on to overcome a lot of things through, first God and giving my life to the Lord. And secondly, by surrounding.
Can we just say that's step one?
Yeah, absolutely. It's step one. Step one.
Know the Lord.
Right. So I'm not going to
the maker of heaven and earth, right?
Yes, come on. Yes. We can't sit here and act like, we just did all this through happenstance, or, you have to acknowledge that. But then after you get done praying, you have to practice something. Because you got to perform. You got to do something, right? Man. You got to give God something to work with.
That's right.
So I went on and started to develop my skills, and believe it or not, fast forwarding through me getting my life together and realizing I could achieve, realizing that I could start getting better grades, all that. Eventually, I went to college, and while I was there, someone selected me to go work for Toyota on an internship. And I ended up going there, working there, and then I got hired. Next thing I know, Akio Toyoda, who's in the real Toyota family, was on assignment at the plant that I was at working on. I was in purchasing.
Wow.
He sees me in my early 20s and said, "Who's that young man? Something special about him."
Come on.
And so they asked me to give him a presentation. So I didn't know no different. I didn't know how special it was. So yeah, I'll give him a presentation. Next thing I know, 1 week later, I was on my way to Japan with a letter written in Japanese. I didn't know what it said, right?
Stop.
So I get sent to Nagoya, Japan, and I need to now travel to Toyota City, Japan. I handed letter to the taxi driver. He nods at me and I nod at him. And I just prayed he took me to the right place. When I got to that hotel, I fell on my knees, Ryan, and I just thank God. Because I couldn't believe that I was in that type of situation. And little to know, my life changed. I got the highest level of training of operational excellence that you could think of. I mean, it's literally, you thought you could eat off the floor in these plants.
Well, listen, Toyota is, I've heard of Toyota's management style being taught in business schools all over the world. Their systems and processes, that being one of the main reasons that they were so successful when they came into the US market was not just because, they were cheaper and better. They were cheaper and better because of their systems and processes, right? And I know that I was taught that in business school.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it is there's always a war of cultures of America versus Japan. And, I'm not in that battle. I just want the truth.
That's right.
And a lot of people, there's great people like Edward Deming and Joseph Duran and Philip Crosby that did a lot in quality. And I've seen people try to Americanize what happened in Japan, but the truth, I was able to get the truth of what really happened after World War II, when no bank would work with Toyota, wouldn't loan them any money.
Got it.
And they start to develop this lean mentality of we've got to do more with less. So from learning all of that, learning it the right way, it would transform everything I knew about business, coupled with what I went through in life.
Yeah.
And it helped me to become this unique entrepreneur now that could do some unique things in business.
Yeah. Wow. So then you went to Japan and you learned from a very, very high level at one of the most efficient, best companies in the world, world renowned. Right?
Yes, sir.
As I can independently verify that just from what I've learned separately.
Right.
How to manage and run companies.
Mm-hmm.
So then, obviously, you did that successfully with Toyota for a while.
Right.
But then what?
So once I got handpicked to do that, I did that for about 4 years, went all across North America, Canada, and throughout the Pacific Rim. Once I matured there, was on the fast track, I just knew that there was a greater calling, there was a greater responsibility, and I was supposed to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know how it was going to work, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and start a consulting company teaching this new philosophy of lean management and how to use it in new industries. And I went everywhere. I don't care if it was a service business. I don't care if it was a nonprofit. I don't care if it was a church cafeteria. I showed them how to reduce waste. Anywhere that there's value or something that someone needs, you can then streamline that and make it more lean. So I start to do that. And so next thing you know, I started my businesses. In the first 3 years, we had eclipsed over $20 million.
Let's go.
Oh yeah.
That's more than you're making a Toyota.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And but what's so great about it, Ryan, is I made millions of dollars, but I lost millions of dollars too.
Okay.
I went through some difficult struggles when the real estate crisis came. Land deals that went crazy, when the loan market had changed from all these nice loans, 80-10-10, all that. I had companies in 4 different states, real estate operations, loan operations, appraisal operations, investment operations, several other businesses. But I actually learned more about being a CEO after I had to let go of 80% of my team and lay them off. And I lost my entire executive team. And I had to reinvent and learn how to truly build a business from the ground up, really needing to be lean now for real. And through that,
right before it was just fun. Right?
Exactly.
And it was hey, we're applying this in the good times.
Absolutely.
Now you're in the post World War II Japan situation.
Yes, exactly.
Where that was created.
Yep. And where the banks wouldn't work with Toyota, and when the bank refused to work with Toyota, the founder wrote something on a napkin. He said, we'll never be in this situation again where a bank can stop us from moving forward.
Right.
And so that was the birth of lean. And when I got to a point when all the banks collapsed, I couldn't rely on the bank. So I had to figure out how to use my creativity. And also I had to learn how to mobilize a team that would stick with me through some of my hardest times in my life. I had to learn the spiritual aspects of touching hearts and minds, but also selecting the right people to surround you that have the right ingredients within them. And as you start to put all that together, you start learning how to build something that is indestructible, that can cause your business to stand through some of the toughest fires.
And there's a whole lesson in, like, you just said, like 5 things, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's a whole course, you know what I mean?
It is.
In each one of those things.
Yes, it is.
Especially going from a business owner to a CEO, right? Because this is what you teach today, right? I mean, so you're taking business owners, because I can give you even from my personal experience, right? I own a payment processing firm, and we serve our clients, right? So I solved a problem in the marketplace. All of the other processing companies were terrible, gave terrible customer service, were dishonest, and had bad rates, right? So for us, we were able to solve all of those problems by just doing the opposite of what those companies were doing. Answer the phone, get better pricing, do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And I even have a little saying that I tell guys that get into this business with us is you think that you have to be this amazing thing to be in business. All you have to do is not be bad.
That's true.
And because if you just pick up the phone and you just help people with what they need, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody responsive, somebody helpful. So again, we were able to solve some problems in the marketplace, and that gave us a measure of success.
Right.
But then the question was, what now?
Yes.
So you get to that $1 million mark, right? You can do that by figuring out who you're going to serve and then providing them something, and then it works.
Right.
And that'll get you to $1 million, right? And we'll use that as just a round number.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a range.
Yeah.
But then to get from $1 million to 10 million, or from 10 million to 100 million,
Right.
That's a whole different game.
It is.
And I'm sure you could speak to, what does it then take for somebody to go from that business owner that has a small team or maybe no team? So there's a lot of solopreneurs out there, but a lot of people have a couple employees.
Right.
That are doing some admin stuff,
Yeah.
but they haven't brought on a leadership level, right?
Yeah.
Echelon, or they haven't done the things to again, bump up to that next level. What does it take? What is
Well, there's three roles that I want to call out, Ryan, that are very important. A business owner is someone who started a business. Doesn't mean they know anything about business, right? You can go do that.
I serve business owners. I can vouch for
Right,
that.
absolutely.
I am amazed, man.
It's really amazing. You can go and do the legal things to start a business. You're a business owner.
Yep.
An entrepreneur is another level, because they actually have found a problem that they solve.
Sure.
And they can start making money.
Yep.
But a CEO is one who is able to put systems in place to run, grow, and scale a business as a machine that works almost with or without you.
Yeah.
And until you do that, you're always limiting the ability and the capacity of your business to do everything it can.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it the Millionaire Business Blueprint, Ryan. And I talk about these 5 elements. The first one is clarity.
Yeah.
We got to get super clear on where we're going, who we serve, what's the strategy to get there.
Yes.
When we deal with capacity, how much can your business, what is it even capable of doing?
Right.
What is the marketplace? Are you choosing something that really has the capability to make the money you want to make?
Is it even viable?
Is it even viable?
Is it even viable?
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have to deal with commerce. How do we actually make money? What does your value ladder look like? What is the way you're organizing your approach to working with clients and different offers that you use, and your strategies for letting people know about what you're doing from a sales perspective?
Sure.
Then there's control, all of our systems. So if your business is not under control, you may have a business, but that business may truly be having you because you're not in control of it.
Well, and to that point, a lot of those business owners that even I deal with, they're not really entrepreneurs or business owners as you would think. They just really own a job.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. And I often ask entrepreneurs, did you create a business or did you create a job?
Right.
The term self-employed is a very powerful statement.
It sure
right?
is.
And we say it all the time, but we don't really understand the depth of what you really said. Self-employed.
It's funny, we heard Myron Golden, I heard him say today.
Yeah.
Right? He said, I'm gainfully unemployed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
That's really good.
That's good.
And when you think about systems, Ryan, think about this. We learned the traffic system maybe when we were in high school.
Okay.
We literally need no more coaching after that. We drive hunks of metal 80, 70, 60, 90 miles an hour on these highways and freeways.
That's right.
No one coaches us.
Yeah.
We all know what that line means. It's a visual control.
That's right. That's right.
We know what every light means when we go,
right.
yellow, green, red. We know what certain signs mean. That's a system
Yes,
that
it
is
is,
running
yeah.
millions of people's day.
Yep.
And no one needs to talk. And that is the power of a system working properly. This is how we need to think about our business.
Yeah.
And so the last area is culture. If you can have a system, but if you can't develop a team of people with not only the knowledge and intelligence from a business perspective,
Right.
but the emotional intelligence as well. How emotionally intelligent is your team to be able to harness their own strengths and weaknesses,
Right.
to be willing to work with others in a way that will create the ability to generate an environment where people want to show up and work together to win.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest secret sauces, I would say, to any business that wants to scale. You've got to have people that have something in them that you've planted, and that begins to grow a harvest of, an environment that will allow you to have a strong business for many years to come.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so I think, and again, even just for me personally, if I'm thinking of that next level of growth and bringing on, say, a leadership echelon, what you're doing is, the difference is, instead of making a system, I think there's a lot of people that they can wrap their mind around that.
Right.
They can then instruct people to use the system,
Right.
and then ask them to work within it. But just like there's, we all, when we drive, we run into problems within the traffic infrastructure. We all know what that problem is, right? And it causes bottlenecks, it causes issues, right? And we can all kind of point those things. Maybe we don't know how to fix them, but we know where the issues are. And so you deal with an expert. So in my case, I'm the expert, right? So then the employees, they get stuck in that system. Where do they go? They come to me to fix it. So I think what you're mentioning, and the way I see it from a vision standpoint, is that now you bring on people that you've implanted a culture in, that you've instilled a set of values that now are empowered to fix those problems for themselves. Right? To act on your behalf, or on the company's behalf, right? But still, if you're the leader of the company, then it's on your behalf. Based on the culture that you've created. And now you're playing a completely different game. Now you're playing a culture game where you're instilling values and culture, not a management of systems game. That echelon manages the system. And you have to then develop that culture. And when you'll have the same type of problems, right? Oh, I didn't like the way you made that decision or whatever, and you have to make adjustments or whatever. I mean, that's the way I'm imagining what you're describing.
Absolutely. And there's another layer to this, Ryan, that a lot of people don't understand, is that a CEO, you have to be a manager of minds, how to manage the minds of people. And sometimes you feel like a zoologist trying to understand just the different personalities, right?
That's right.
And even when we look at the Bible, the mind is one of the most lethal things, as well as presents the most opportunity. We go back to the Garden of Eden, and even though a lot of people, regardless of what different people believe, but just to consider, a lot of people talk about it. You see a picture of an apple in the garden and two naked individuals in the garden and a snake around someone's leg. But when you really look at it, the word apple is not in the whole book of Genesis.
No, you're right. You're right.
And so there's something deeper there that I feel was being discussed. And when he showed that serpent there, what was he really talking about? Paul said, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your minds be corrupted from the simplicity that's in Christ. Jesus looked at the religious world and said, ye serpents. He wasn't talking to snakes, he was talking to people.
Yeah, that's right.
And then there was a time that, if you remember, I think some of the disciples was walking with Jesus, and they said, I would that you cause fire to come down and consume.
Yes.
And he said, get behind me, Satan.
That's right.
But he was talking to a person.
That's right.
So when we talk about the mind, Paul said the carnal mind is an enmity against God.
That's right.
It won't be subject to the laws of God, and neither indeed can it be.
I'm sometimes at enmity with my carnal mind.
Exactly. well, it's the greatest threat that we have. And if you don't know who your enemy is, you can't win. And so every single day, in between the chambers of my own head, there's something working against my ability to be willing to work with you.
Wow.
I by nature have automatic negative thoughts. We call them ants, right?
Automatic negative thoughts.
Automatic negative thoughts.
Now you learned something. Ants, automatic negative thoughts.
And they're crawling. You got 70,000 of these every single day.
Man.
And if you don't have leadership,
get some raid, you know what I mean?
You do. You need some raid, some spiritual raid that's going to help you be able to manage the minds of people. If you don't understand what's working the mind of people, you won't know what is really happening in your company and how to manage people towards success, when sometimes they don't even realize who's talking within themselves.
That's right.
So these are some very deep layers to, if you want to really create a culture, every example we use, every thought we plant, everything that we allow to happen in our company, it's a seed. And it's going to grow up in your business and either help to strengthen it, or it'll be a silent disease that'll cause it to begin to fall apart from the inside. So these are things that they don't teach you in business school. And if you don't learn about people and how to work with them, the people you thought could help you grow will be the ones that made your business go. And I hope you understand what I mean.
I do. I understand. I mean,
yes, sir.
I mean, people obviously. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about government and how government's just a bunch of people, right? Like we make it into different stuff. Corporations is just a bunch of people.
That's all it is.
All it is just more people. And that's why when you deal with things or deal with brands, it's almost like they're personified, you know? And you blow my mind a little bit.
Well, when you said more people though, Ryan, that's more people, more childhoods, more backgrounds, more opinions, more perspectives. more views of the world.
Yes.
All of these things, when they come into your company,
That's more ants.
it's more ants.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you got in your business a bunch of ant mounds
Oh,
where everyone's built their own mound and they're
Yeah.
all going into, this is what happens in corporate, right? They're making a lot of money, but the
Yeah.
culture in some of these businesses are horrible.
Right.
And think about the term department, right?
yeah.
It's meant for us to depart. Every department feels that they're the reason the business succeeds.
That's
right.
right. Yeah.
Sales said if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't make
there
no
wouldn't
money.
be no money.
Operations said it
That's
wasn't for
right.
us, you couldn't get the product created.
That's correct.
And then IT says if I pull the plug on this technology, none of y'all gonna get nothing done.
Facts.
So
That's
we
exactly
have to
right.
change our thinking. How do we start to feel as one team?
Yeah.
Instead of thinking in departments and divisions, right?
Yeah,
There's another
yeah.
word
That
popular in
divisions.
corporate, right?
That's right.
How do we get to
Wow.
more value stream thinking where we think in rivers, how we all work together to let value flow?
Yeah,
Doesn't
man.
matter what my skill set is,
Yeah.
but I'm learning how within my company to create a river that flows through your skill set and my skill set to ultimately get that value to the customer.
Right.
Because this is not about me building a kingdom.
Right.
It's about making the
Oh, I can see
customer
it
the
too,
king.
because rivers have different sources, and then they'll come together into bigger rivers,
Yes.
and that's where they're going. They're all heading towards. I mean, I can
Right.
visualize.
And-
That's
and-
cool.
And the boat of value, which is our products and services,
Yeah,
will
yeah,
get to the customer
That's
quicker,
right.
better, faster
Yes.
when those rivers are working together.
Man, no, that's wow, that's huge. And you have all of this stuff instead of working against each other. The value gets bigger because of each of those individual streams.
Yes.
Right. So where one is saying like, oh, this wouldn't exist. Well, yeah, you're right. This over here that we're delivering to the customer wouldn't be as big. It wouldn't flow as well. It wouldn't be as fast. Wouldn't have as many, whatever
Right.
things that we need in it. If all of these streams didn't all exist and come together
Right.
into that place. you know?
Absolutely. Man, and think about it. If you get a river flowing, you get everyone aligned and going in the same direction, you're going to always have a bad apple. You're going to always have someone that doesn't want to go along with what you're trying to do as a
that's
CEO. They don't want to follow the rules. But the beautiful thing is they have to now try to swim upstream, right? Because that river is so strong,
Yes.
there's a current
That's
in
right.
your business.
Yeah.
And if you try to swim against that stream, it's going to weed you out. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
You want to know quickly who's with you and who's really going to be aligned with where you're going.
That's right.
And you want to notice when someone's fighting against the river.
That's a good word. Man, okay, so let's start trying to work our way to a wrap up. I mean, we've got the small business owner out there, and he's not stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck, right? As someone we know would say, right?
Yes,
He's
absolutely.
not stuck like Chuck in a pickup truck, but he is feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Because I think that this is a feeling that entrepreneurs get, and it's funny because we've talked about, people that make six figures feel stuck at six figures, or people
Yeah.
that make six figures a month feel stuck at 100,000 or 500,000 a month.
Right.
When they get there and then they plateau.
Yep.
So for the guy that's out there has a business and is looking to get unstuck, what would you say would be the next step for him to try to take on the next phase?
So I want to introduce you to an equation.
Okay. All right. I like math. That's good.
R minus C equals P plus P. Let me explain.
Okay.
All right.
right.
So revenue, right, is something that all of us are seeking to increase,
Yes.
right? If you want your business to really, really go to the highest level, you have to also minus C, which is cost.
Got it.
right?
You're right.
So now people don't realize what my Toyota experience taught me is that there's always a less expensive way to do anything, right? And when you challenge yourself to reduce waste,
Yes.
profit is made two ways: revenue going up and cost staying the same.
Well, that's why they say a penny saved is a penny earned.
Exactly,
right?
right? So revenue can go up and cost can stay the same, or revenue can stay the same and cost can go down.
Yes.
Or revenue can go up and cost can go down. And now
yes
profit,
and yes.
right?
Yeah.
So that leads us to profit. But the plus P is peace. See,
Come on.
what CEOs have to realize, and
Yes.
sometimes the reason we feel stuck
Right.
is there's other things in the way of us, right? Things that we're feeling, things that we're thinking, things in
Yes.
our life. Entrepreneurs are still fathers.
Yes.
Their husbands, their moms, their wives.
That's right.
They're they've got all these things, right? They're dealing with sicknesses.
They're whole people.
They're whole people.
Yeah.
So sometimes before we can get to those other areas, we have to evaluate, where am I at right now in my life?
Yeah.
Not where I was when I was on my way to making $1 million, or maybe I'm making 2 million now, but what's going on in my life right now? And what's going on in my business right now? And how do I align this, right?
Yeah.
So Myron sometimes talk about mindset, skill set, and tool set.
That's right.
All three of those have to come together.
That's right.
And so this is the thing to me, Ryan, that at the end of the day, it's always revisiting that foundation again. What is going on with my revenue, my costs, my profit, but also my peace. And when you get those aligned, you can do just about anything.
So I think all of the people, like this guy that I just mentioned, right? He's stuck in a certain place, plateaued in his business. If he's got the R minus C.
Right.
And he's done the things under his current situation, and he has some P.
Yeah.
Okay. But he doesn't have the plus P.
Yes.
And I've seen a quote a lot recently. I don't know. You know how quotes come around?
Yeah,
you know, they make their way around.
Yeah.
And it's the battle within versus the battle without. It said the quote is an African proverb, and it says, "If there's no enemy within, then the enemy without can't hurt you." Right?
Right.
And so I feel like what you're telling me and us all together is that really, when we get stuck, a lot of times we have to look in before we look out.
Right.
So that we have that piece, that plus P, right?
Yeah.
And then we can go back, and all of a sudden the R increases.
Exactly.
Or the C decreases. Or
everything.
whatever.
And the reason that's true, Ryan, is because, as it's often said, what got you here won't get you there. Right. So who I had to become to get to this level of success in my business is not the same person I need to be to get to the next level.
Right. It's new level, new devil.
Exactly. Right? There we go. Now you're saying something, right?
Well, when you get to a certain point, I think what happens is you slayed the enemy. Like, the younger crowd gets the video game thing, right? You slayed the first boss, right? Well, now you're on the new level, so you're having a good time on the new level, but then you come to that boss, another boss, right? There's another point where you have to take that out, right? You have to. And I think internally we have those same things. We rise to a certain level, but then there's a whole nother set of things. I always have this saying, I say, money only solves the problems that not having money causes. Which means money only solves problems that not having money causes. So you can only solve a certain amount of problems with money.
Right.
And what happens is, especially for people that are business owners and start to solve some of those problems and get a little bit of time freedom as well, they start to realize the real problems in life are not money problems. Right. Because I could solve those by just writing, you know what I mean? I can write a check. I can, Venmo, right? That problem's gone. But then now I'm still left with all of these other issues that take away that piece, right?
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think that's an R and a C killer, right? It's the other P killer. It's a profit killer.
It's a profit killer.
Because if you don't have the piece, then what you'll end up doing is you'll end up sabotaging the other side of the equation.
Absolutely. And Jesus really taught us this, Ryan, when he said, what would it profit a man?
Yes.
Right? He used the word profit.
Yes.
If he gained the whole world, that's a revenue.
Come on.
But lose his soul.
Yes.
But then he said it a different way in Luke. What would it profit a man if he gained the whole world and lose himself?
Yes.
So he used the cost there as losing yourself.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So to let you know, the soul is the real you. So the key is, I've got to still deal with who I am. To get to that next level, there's either a limiting belief, there's something in me that's stopping me from doing what I need to do to go to that next level. I just had a person that just joined my program. He had a very bad tragedy in his family. And I mean, you could tell he was just going through it. Even in the challenge that I had, he was really struggling. And, but he's sitting on a gold mine. His business is making money. It's time to maybe go make even bigger money. But he's dealing with the will to do it. Right? And so we all have to face that, because sometimes the greatest barrier to our success is the barrier that we've built with inside.
Wow. Okay. So I think I think that internal piece is a big piece. I love that you focus on that because, you know, a lot of time as a sales rep running around selling merchant accounts, you know, which is, I haven't done that in a while, pulling doors, but I found a lot of times I ended up being a psychologist, an unpaid psychologist.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I'm just trying to sell you a merchant account. I'm trying to get some credit card processing.
Exactly.
You know? And ended up being a marriage counselor and a, you know, you name it, and a free business consultant.
Exactly.
You know? Because, like you said, those business owners that want to be CEOs are people.
Right.
And they have to first develop themselves before they can make it to that next level. So if somebody were interested in coming and finding you, what would be the best way for them to come through and find you and start entering your world?
Yeah, well, two things I would mention. Of course, we have a challenge that helps in 5 days teach this millionaire business blueprint. And they can learn more about that at the growmybusinesschallenge.com.
Growmybusinesschallenge.com.
Okay. We also have, sometimes the challenge with challenges is the schedule.
Yeah.
So what I did is I created what's called the Millionaire Business Bundle, and it's millionairebusinessbundle.com. And this is for someone who just like, give me everything right now. I want to buy it. And I let you see all the days of the challenge. Yeah. There's ways that my team will interact with you while you're in there.
Sure.
And you get a free ticket to come to one of my challenges whenever you can. So it's up to you when you get to, I want to meet you. I get to, you know, answer questions, do all that. But in the meantime, get going on the information, figure this stuff out, start getting it now. Yeah. And I got a bunch of bonuses in there that I throw in. And of course, I'm like you, publishing a lot. So I have my YouTube channel, You Are a CEO. Okay. And I do a lot of publishing there. And I just want to say real quick, Ryan, I really appreciate you having me. Yeah. I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah,
I can tell you stand for some really good things and just being a wholesome person, a Christian man. And I had a privilege to see some of your family. And I can see that you're putting them in the right environments to win.
Praise God.
And so that says a lot about you. And so I'm just really blessed to be here with you. And I really wish everything you're doing here, great success. Oh, man, and so anything I could ever do to support, I will.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Well, this has been awesome. I hope you guys have been blessed by this conversation as well. I know that all of us are looking for that success. And I think today we learned that the success now has an equation. R minus C equals P plus P. And you never want to forget the plus P. It's probably even more important than the other P. And so you want to go ahead and put that on paper, figure out what you need to do in order to get there. You can go to growmybusinesschallenge.com and you can go and check out You Are a CEO on YouTube if you wanted to see more Michael E. Parker. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one.